Welcome to the League of Women Voters Tacoma-Pierce County Candidate Forum for Pierce County Council, position number 7. I'm Lydia Zepeda, moderator for this forum. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County, I begin this forum with a land acknowledgement. We gather on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, surrounded by their traditional waters in the shadow of Mount Tahoma. We actively seek inclusive and respectful partnerships that honor Indigenous cultures, histories, identities, and current realities. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization whose mission is to empower informed and active participation of citizens in government. The candidates in ballot order for Pierce County Council, position number 7, are Chuck West, Brenda Lykins, Mike Solan, and Anne E. Jolie. The primary is August 4th. You should have received your ballot. If not, go to votewa.gov, that's votewa.gov, by Monday, July 27th, to register or update your address. Your ballots must be postmarked or placed in a ballot box drop by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, August 4th. This forum is being recorded and will be posted at our website, lwvtpc.org. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and get updates on our candidate forums. Questions have been prepared by the League of Women Voters, Tacoma-Pierce County. We invite live audience questions via text to the number right there on the screen, 253-948-6029. Questions must be directed to all candidates and may be reworded or consolidated. Our timekeeper today is Terry Baker. Candidates, please stay on gallery view so that you can see the timer. And when your time is up, please stop. I will cut you off, but you can finish a sentence. Please don't talk unless it's your turn, and please mute yourself when not speaking. The audience is muted, by the way. A reminder that civility is expected. I ask you each to confirm that you agree to our ground rules, which, among other things, include addressing the issues and not making personal comments. Please confirm by giving me the thumbs up. I want to see some thumbs. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Each candidate has 2 minutes for an opening statement. After that, the order of the questions will rotate and each candidate will be asked the same question. At the end, each candidate has a 1-minute closing statement. The order of the opening 2-minute statements for Pierce County Council District 7 is in ballot order. So we'll start with Brenda Lykins. Brenda Lykins, your 2-minute opening statement, please.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Brenda Lykins, and I'm honored to be running for Pierce County Council to represent District 7. For more than 45 years, Pierce County has been my home. I grew up in Pierce County, graduated from public high school, and went on to earn both my undergraduate and graduate nursing degrees at the University of Washington. I've been a longtime resident of District 7, living in both North Tacoma and Gig Harbor. For more than 30 years, I have served our community as a nurse practitioner. Throughout my healthcare career, I have cared for families from many different backgrounds, and I have seen firsthand how challenges like rising housing costs, healthcare expenses, transportation, and childcare affect people's health and security. Those experiences shape the way I approach public service by listening carefully, understanding the challenges people face, and working towards practical solutions. This commitment led me to serve as a Gig Harbor City Council member and Mayor pro tempore. During my time on council, I worked to increase public safety funding, make our roads safer for cars, cyclists, and pedestrians, expand our parks and green spaces, strengthen our local businesses, protect our environment, and make responsible budget decisions that reflected our community's priorities. This year, I served as District 7's representative to the Pierce County Charter Review, where I gained a very deep understanding of county government and the importance of both transparency and accountability. I'm running for Pierce County Council because I believe our county government can make a real difference in people's lives. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Solan, please, your 2-minute statement.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure, and I'm humbled to be here. And quite frankly, I didn't see myself running for public office until I started witnessing what I lived and breathed in King County and in Seattle, those same policies that have led to some public safety consternation and overuse of taxations now being adopted here in Pierce County. I'm a 27-year police officer, and the past 6 years of my um, career, I was the president of the Seattle Police Officers Union, where I negotiated two fair labor contracts with three different mayors, progressives and moderates, and four different police chiefs in that 6 year time frame. What we witnessed and that I lived under in Seattle was starting off around 2019, 1,400 police officers, and then fast forward to today, we have half the agency remaining. And what I'm seeing here is those same types of energy around public safety impact residents here within the county that I call home, now decimating the Pierce County Sheriff's Office, where they have real significant staffing issues. My policies are pretty simple: public safety, fiscal integrity, and infrastructure and reasonable growth. $3.47 billion dollars is the Pierce County biennium budget. However, the county is only taking in 3.1 billion. The county's own website says that they're at a fiscal cliff. This is a red alert time, and I'm deeply concerned about the future of our county government. What I want to do as your next council member is to make sure that your tax dollars are respected, the tax dollars are allocated properly, and it's this time when I get into office, in collaboration with other council members, that county elected officials start listening to the constituents versus overtaxation and regulating us.
Thank you all. Now we come to questions. Each candidate will get 90 seconds to answer each question and we'll rotate the order. Again, live audience can text questions to 253-948-6029. The candidate order will change, and so for question number one, we'll start with Mike Solan. County expenses for employee health care and county services are rising faster than revenues from property and sales tax. What is your proposal to address the looming budget shortfall for 2027-2028 biennium? And specifically, what is your proposal to raise revenues and/or cut services? Mike Solan.
Yes, thank you. It's a great question as it revolves around my second priority, which is fiscal integrity. As I mentioned earlier, we have $3.47 billion dollars that we're spending, but only taking in 3.1. Within the first 90 days when I take office, we're going to do a department-wide audit. We're going to have department heads, directors, and managers identify 3 to 5 cost-saving actions where we can cut red tape and try to capture some of the fiscal integrity that is now going out the door and causing our taxes to go up and our quality of life to go down. The other piece of that, 80% of that $3.47 billion budget, while we're only taking in 3.1 billion, is being spent on public safety. So when I look at those numbers in relation to the question, we have a significant fiscal issue. And why is it that the Pierce County Sheriff's Office, with that 80% of capture of the public safety coffers, we have the least amount of deputies per capita, not just in the entire state of Washington, but in the entire nation? There's areas of the Key Peninsula that don't have any deputy coverage. So I can't understand when we're talking about creating more jobs and having a public safety tax that is recruiting, we haven't done anything to retain the highly qualified deputies right now. And for me, that's a significant issue where we need to address the fiscal responsibilities of this county administration.
Thank you. Brenda Lykins, please.
Thank you for the question. So, in the 2026-2027 budget, the county did rely on several one-time temporary measures due to this fund balance. They took $18 million from reallocated vacancy savings because of vacancies throughout departments. They shifted some general fund capital contributions to the REIT fund, And even with these steps, though, however, the $35.5 million in fund balance needs to be maintained, which is about 17%. By about 2029, in the current 4-year budget forecast, or actually it goes out 6 years, those funds will be depleted. So efficiency is going to be key. So I would work with my county council members to pass some funding for, I agree, department-wide audits, and I would look at programs of quality assurance like Six Sigma, where you can look at the efficiency, not only the efficiency, but the outcome of programs. And the county has upcoming costs related to juvenile justice, to the state mandated increases in public defense, as well as the constitutionally required jail medical services. And that is why I do support the public safety sales tax, is to give money and a dedicated fund for those services. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Brenda Lykins. What are your specific proposals to address the homelessness and mental health crises, and how will you fund them? Brenda Lykins, please.
Thank you. So, as a nurse practitioner, I take this one very much at heart. I cover emergency rooms, I work as a hospitalist, and we see patients coming in crisis. I do pediatrics and neonatology, but often it's the mother or the family that is brought in, and it's very, very difficult. So, the homelessness, it has to be a really compassionate, combined approach. We need to have enough services. I am a big supporter of the unified regional approach to homelessness for Pierce County. This approach, it pools resources so that individual jurisdictions don't have to duplicate services, and it actually is considered a cost savings. The city of Gig Harbor, I know, just had a presentation and they made a vote unanimously in council just this last month. The other thing that I would be very supportive of is continuing, for example, the specialty taxes that help cover mental health services for our community. Especially after COVID, this truly is a crisis and it needs a compassionate approach. There are things that can be done at the state level as well that I would advocate for, including increasing availability of more providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Solan, please.
Yes, good question on the homeless issue because it just keeps getting more complicated and more nuanced. And it relates to, again, the fiscal integrity component of this, as it is a societal issue that impacts every one of us because it's attached to the budget. So from last year's biennium cycle of this budget, now going into 26-27, Pierce County is set to have a 16% increase, $110 million now being spent on homeless services. I look at that as more taxes trying to solve an issue, throwing more money at it, where we don't see significant results. Since 2015, the county has seen a 125% increase in homeless issues. The answer is not throwing more money at it. The answer is trying to collaborate with stakeholders to have accountability, whether it's personal accountability, counseling, and then fiscal accountability. And what does that look like? So I look at Project 36 in San Francisco. That was passed, in the state of California. That was passed in 2024. If you look at San Francisco as the model of what Pierce County, in particular, let's just talk about Tacoma, should emulate, that is an exceptional rate of return on having treatment for counseling, drugs, mental health, and accountability. They've cut their encampment issues in half. So I fully support a model like that.
Thank you. I noticed, Chloe, that we have Chuck in the audience. Could that be Chuck West by any chance? Perhaps we could have him relabel or promote him. Chloe, can you respond?
Oh, yes, I've just sent in a request to promote to panelist. Trying to do that now. Chuck, if you're getting a notification, you can hit agree or yes to be promoted to panelist.
If you are Chuck West.
Yes, if you're a Chuck West.
Thank
It looks
you.
like he'll be rejoining.
Okay, Chuck, could you unmute your camera? Oh, we are having technology. Oh my.
There we go. Okay, I'm unmuted.
Yeah, well, we can't see you.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm on my desktop because I was having trouble with everything else.
Okay, well, we will proceed. Yeah, we will start with the next question and we'll have you
Okay.
join in. Okay, so next question. We are going to start with Mike Solan. And what proposals do you have to address housing affordability in your district? And are the needs or approach different in District 7 than other districts in Pierce County? Mike Solan.
Yeah, I think, well, District 7 is very vast, where we have Tacoma, parts of Tacoma, Ruston, Gig Harbor, Fox Island, and the Key Peninsula. So there's interest across the entire district. In terms of housing affordability, well, I think that's extremely important. But as we're seeing more demand for our housing, um, I think that impacts North Tacoma different than it would in the Key Peninsula due to density. And so when we see land use um, regulations impacting growth and parcel development, it becomes very nuanced. And then you look at the fees that are associated with the land use projects and how efficient is it for people to apply for a permit to build on their parcels. So as the demand for housing is in an highest need that we've ever seen it, we need to be creative in terms of how do we solve that problem to make it more affordable, but also trying to make it more enticing for developers to produce the housing that's needed. And we have to be creative. So one of the things that I've seen is I would reinstate the growth density program. And then how do you balance that with the demand for housing associated with how does that impact our congestion on our roadways? So for me, lessen the amount of fees so we can have the developers feel that they're incentivized to develop, but also incorporate low affordable housing units to meet the demand for low income housing where it's at its highest level I've seen.
Thank you. Brenda Lykins, please.
Thank you for the question. So Pierce County recently adopted their 10-year comprehensive plan early in 2025. It looked at a balanced approach to housing. When I served on the Pierce County Regional Council, we worked very closely with the Growth Management Act and the Growth Management Policy Board, looking at how to plan housing across the county. The most recent comp plan of 2025 significantly reduced the growth capacity within District 7, primarily on the unincorporated and rural areas. It removed about 400 acres from the urban growth area, which was a part of the city of Gig Harbor, and eliminated the rural density bonus. So this lowered the growth potential in the unincorporated areas in District 7 pretty significantly. And the reason it was done was the lack of roads, utilities, and other infrastructure. I mean, they're having trouble getting even broadband out on some areas of the Key Peninsula, and it also protects the valuable farmland forests and environmental habitats. So as far as the housing, a countywide approach looking at transit-oriented communities and along infrastructure where it can be expanded more cost effectively and keep housing where the transit is more available, it helps preserve the characters of the cities that we like, but still provide housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck West, what's your proposal to address housing affordability in your district? And is your approach different in District 7 than other districts in Pierce County?
Chuck, can you see the timer?
I cannot see the timer, but somebody just tell me.
I will tell you when you have 30 seconds.
Okay. Okay. Yes, it's definitely different. District 7, where it's divided up between urban and rural. I am a builder and a general contractor. I kind of retired from the fire department. I started a small contracting business. Mainly I do historic restoration, but occasionally we'll build a new house or a shop or something. And so I'm pretty familiar with the permitting process. And I think that's one of the areas that we have to work on is getting permits. I think planning and land services has lost touch with the communities of this area. And I'll use an example here recently. My wife and I actually wanted to try to build a coffee shop in Tucson, so the community. We went into planning and land services to try to get a permit 3 years ago. Sat down with them, got a list of things we needed, and went out and started doing that. As we went through the process last year, we submitted everything again. Again, we got kicked back, and this time they wanted the wetlands had changed, and they wanted us to do an elk study.
10 seconds.
And they weren't even familiar enough to know that there are no elk on the Peak Peninsula to do the elk study. So they've lost touch.
Thank you. So next question, we'll start with Brenda Lykins. What are your priorities to address traffic congestion and infrastructure needs, and how do you propose to fund them? Brenda Lykins, 90 seconds.
Thank you. So 90 seconds will go by quickly. Infrastructure, there are some significant needs, most notably the Fox Island Bridge in District 7 that's going to need replacement, as well as the transportation infrastructure that just simply needs to be maintained. The roads, the surfaces, we have to maintain what we already have so it doesn't fall into disrepair. So I would aggressively look at federal and state funding, matching funding. I know sometimes, for example, people will say including a roundabout's more expensive, for example, in some of the designs that come out. But when we include a roundabout, oftentimes we can get matching funds from federal and state authorities because it's a long-term solution and they prefer them. And so incorporating what is the best way to get us federal or state grants, working with our state partners, which are in District 26 and 27, to ensure that we can provide the infrastructure. Infrastructure is a basic need that we really need to be providing as a county. I could also go into broadband and the possibility of being a utility provider for broadband service, but in the limited time, there are a lot of infrastructure needs that we need to address. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck West, 90 seconds, please.
Infrastructure is a basic need for something that the county should provide as a basic need. Planning and land services the cows. Public Works did a study recently. Ryan Mello was able to get a study done for us that showed the amount of money that is spent on the Peak Peninsula and the amount of money that is derived from the Peak Peninsula. Areas like the Peak Peninsula and the Harbor Peninsula are paying a lot of money that goes to the other side of the county. We should be able to demand that money come back there and provide for the infrastructure here. We're losing about $2 million a year on the Peak Peninsula. I can only imagine what the Big Harbor Peninsula is losing for supply stock that goes over to the other side of the county. You need to look at the overall, the big picture, but we should be able to demand that Public Works get that money back into the infrastructure here. Working
30
on
seconds.
these roads for 34 years as a firefighter, I saw a lot of needs to make improvements on the roads. They're not safe. We have to get some money back when you fix the infrastructure here as far as the roads go.
Thank you. Mike Solan, please.
Yeah, infrastructure, it's one of my three priorities that I need to focus on, that I think we should focus on. And the Fox Island Bridge is one of the biggest issues, I think, impacting the entire county, if not the residents of Fox Island. The Fox Island Bridge has been a problem for 70 years, and unfortunately, the county has not set aside any money with the issue facing them. It's 150 to what is being told could be a $300 million replacement cost. Where is that going to land? It can't fall on the residents of Fox Island. That would be unfair. This has to be a countywide solution. And I believe the first thing that I would do is look at the road fund property tax. The road fund property tax collects us 96 cents per every $1,000 on property assessed value. I would advocate to set aside more of that tax for bridge maintenance specific to the Fox Island Bridge. And if you look at more broadly, you have to engage with the federal government and then the state government for grants. We need to think outside the box to fund this major infrastructure problem. What is being done is the repairs on the bridge on an annual basis. Fox Island Bridge is maintained by the county by a 6-year capital budget. 10 million of those dollars is for the routine maintenance. We need to do more on the structural repairs. So in 10 years from now, we're going to be looking at a complete replacement of this bridge. And within that 10-year span, we need to start looking immediately for solutions. And I think that road tax solution to set aside more funds to fix this bridge problem
Thank
is
you.
where I would first start.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Chuck West. What do you think is the most important environmental issue facing your district? And what do you think the Pierce County Council should do to address it? Chuck West.
Well, the peninsula, obviously, we're surrounded by water, so we're always concerned about drainage and what's going into our water. And so with the global warming and it's overall, we have to continue to pay attention to what we do for development and what's going to bring into our waters. We need to pay attention to it overall. I don't have any obvious answers for what we're going to do for the environment, and we're going to pay attention.
Thank you. Mike Solan.
Yeah, my biggest thing with the environment is the respect and conservation. As I'm a water enthusiast, I'm a boater. I live and breathe the water, and it's where I raise my kids. And the biggest thing for me that I see, particularly in the homeless encampments that I've had personal experience in trying to clean up and solve and find people shelter, is the water runoff, if not the gray waste discharge that goes directly into our sewer drains that go directly to the Puget Sound. That for me is one of the biggest issues that contaminates our public waterways is the runoff from RVs that are littering our streets. And to me, it's unconscionable that if we respect our waterways, in which we've overtly talked about, which I completely respect and I think needs to be protected, is addressing the RV issues that are contaminating our water. The second thing is the trash buildup in our waters. I go out of my way anytime I'm on the water to pick up debris that has littered the ocean to try to save any wildlife that I see impacted by fish nets, garbage, any kind of waste, oil in the water. That was my biggest component, would be trash and water contamination from RVs that are not respecting our waterways.
Thank you. Brenda Lykins.
Thank you. So the environment is one of my policy priorities. So protecting clean water while still providing for growth is very important in District 7. We are surrounded by water. Our communities depend on drinking water, recreation, agriculture, local jobs. It's what really makes our district quite extraordinary. And this water, one of the things about on the peninsula is that on the peninsula, the water is primarily provided by well water. And those wells, we don't know how long they are going to be able to provide the needed water for our economy or for that unincorporated areas. And so we need to ensure that we are preserving water, but also we need to have the proper infrastructure to manage stormwater because that protects critical habitats, the salmon stream, supports our farmers, and gives practical solutions. And I believe we should hold polluters accountable, but not create unnecessary burdens for families or businesses. We need to focus on water also for wildlife preparedness. There is a large tree canopy in District 7. And I just take a practical science-based approach. My degrees are in science, but we need to leave our counties cleaner, safer, and the water in our area is the critical habitat. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mike Solan. What do you think is the most important public safety priority in your district, and how should it be addressed? Mike Solan.
Well, the number one public safety problem is not having enough Pierce County deputies to protect the public. As I said prior, 80% of our $3.47 billion budget is spent on public safety. Yet we have the least amount of deputies per capita in the entire state and the entire nation. I did a ride along a few weeks ago with the Pierce County Sheriff's Office in the Key Peninsula Detachment, and there's only two of us, two deputies, from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to midnight. And for me, if those two deputies get on a call and that which takes up their resources, you don't have any other law enforcement entity to protect you. I don't understand why 80% of the budget is spent on public safety, and yet we have the least amount of deputies per capita. That would be my number one focus. We have to understand how the city of Tacoma was successful in recruiting our deputies to be employed by the city of Tacoma. It's because they incentivized those deputies with a signing bonus. And when you deprioritize trying to retain your current highly trained deputies, those deputies are going to go to other jurisdictions that are more friendly, that are fiscally more advantageous for them. And then now we're reaping the results of poor fiscal management and an allocation lack of priority, which has led to this staffing crisis. So we need to have a fair contract for the Sheriff's Guild, which I'm endorsed by, and I'm proud of that endorsement. And I will advocate as a council member for a fair budget, as able to successfully advocate as a labor president over two contracts.
Thank you. Brenda Lykins, please.
Yes, thank you. It's a really important question and one that District 7 residents truly care about. I find it unacceptable that people live in the community and feel like if they call for service, that service may take a while to obtain. That is a difficult thing to explain. So Washington State, I believe starting in like 2011, had about 1.6 deputies statewide, or police officers per thousand population. And with population growth and the lack of significant increase in those that go into law enforcement, we're now down to 51st out of 51st for 11 years in a row in Washington State, with I believe it's around 1.37 deputies. Now, I agree that incentives will help bring people from one jurisdiction to another. But I think it's beyond incentives. I think we need to look into using the state dollars that have been allocated. Now, are there some bureaucratic limitation to those dollars, and are they slow rolling out? Absolutely. But I believe that with the passage of the public safety sales tax that was done bipartisan by the council, that allows the county to have access to those state funds because we need more deputies, not just deputies moving from one jurisdiction to another. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck West, please. 90 seconds.
All right. First, I want to apologize for my start. It's kind of got me off kilter. But I think our public safety issue goes beyond just hiring the deputies. We also need the infrastructure behind the court system, the jails. And we have the funding currently to hire deputies, but they're not signing up. And it's not a job that's appealing to them. And so we have to do something to show the deputies that we have their back, that we celebrate them in their accomplishments, in the job they do. They need to be recognized for for the dangerous job they do. Um, and we do need more deputies, no doubt about it, but it's a larger picture. And so if we can get the infrastructure behind
30
it,
seconds.
if we can get the court system to actually prosecute, and if we can get the jails to actually hold some of the criminals, that's going to make it a lot better. And it's going to give the deputies a better feeling about the job they do. I worked beside them for 34 years. We went to those polls together, domestic, homeless situations, car accidents.
Thank you. Next question. We'll start with Brenda Lykins. What is your opinion on the Pierce County Council moratorium on involuntary confinement facilities, Ordinance 2026-505, moratorium on involuntary confinement facilities in unincorporated Pierce County? Brenda Lykins.
Right. Thank you for the question. So they did a temporary, I believe it's 1 year moratorium on detention facilities. I support that decision of the Pierce County Council of putting a moratorium on detention facilities. We have one of the largest on the West Coast in the city of Tacoma, as well as the one up by SeaTac Airport. I am concerned about some of the operations with immigration enforcement. I have seen some errors that have occurred. I've heard from constituents that are not happy about what they're seeing with an emphasis on immigration. I believe that there needs to be accountability for people to help them through their process if they can acquire citizenship. And if they cannot, sending them to their country of origin is sometimes appropriate. But I believe allowing people to go through the process or being able to speed up the process if they are eligible. I've heard stories of people being deported who weren't given the chance for the process to be completed, and I'm very concerned about it. So I do support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck West, please. 90 seconds.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. I mean, we're lacking a lot of information. I would hate to see the overcrowding that is created by not allowing more facilities to be built. If the overcrowding is causing problems, then we need to allow more space. I also think that the immigration issue is an issue itself. We need to come up with a pathway to citizenship that's expeditious. And bring these people in, where that vets them to make sure that they're safe. And if we have gang members and stuff, then certainly those people need to be sent home or taken care of through the court system. But if we have good people that want to be citizens of this country, we should have a process that's expeditious, and we should be that to happen. But I do fear that by limiting the growth of the facilities, we're probably going to get that.
Thank you. Mike Solan?
Yes, in terms of the immigration and ICE enforcement, that's a federal government law enforcement issue that should not impact local law enforcement. And I think the executive's directive on that makes it clear that public safety, local law enforcement should not have any interaction with federal ICE enforcement. And then that leads me into the bigger issue impacting our current local public safety situation is that when a deputy makes an arrest, say in the Key Peninsula, and then that person is going to jail, they then have to traverse over long period of time and miles to make their way to the jail. Once they get there, then they process. The issue is that there's plenty of space in the jail, in the two jails. Right now, they're not being utilized, particularly on one of the floors. But that's led to some consternation in terms of some of the aspects of those buildings are decaying, and they need immediate attention. And that gets into my my idea is to decentralize government services. I think that having a deputy have to traverse all the way to Tacoma from deep inside Key Peninsula is a waste of time, and they need to have more aspects of intergovernmental relationships with processing of inmates that need to be incarcerated in terms of jailing, but also make it clear that we need more deputies now more than ever. And if we have more time spent on transiting to our detention areas, I think is not a good use of deputy time. And then back to,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next question, we'll start with Chuck West. How do you propose to address neighborhood nuisances such as dumping, street racing, donuts, and aftermarket mufflers? Chuck West.
Oh, so I grew up here in the Big Harbor Key Peninsula area, in the rural areas. And I was probably that kid with that loud muffin in this building. There has to be some balance. We do need to be able to process. Pierce County does a pretty good job of processing the nuisance issues in neighborhoods. And that should continue. We should continue giving support for that. But there's a balance that needs to be had. If you move in next to a gun range, you're going to hear the gun range. If you move in next to an airport, you're going to hear the airport. But there's a balance.
30 seconds.
Local ordinances, homeowners associations. And really a lot of that comes down to more your local level and being able to have some control in the local areas and how we handle things. We do a cleanup every year down like in the community. That actually been like to little local things.
Thank you. Mike Solan, please.
I think what you're describing is a lifestyle issue in terms of ordinance enforcement. But right now, I think we need to have a bigger conversation of what's really occurring. We have to triage the major issues. The major issues is we don't have the personnel to enforce those types of social nuances and aggravations. We have a difficult time as it is trying to maintain priority one major emergent law enforcement response than noise ordinances. And this is what happens when you deprioritize money in terms of trying to retain your current deputies. It is an incentive issue that if you don't provide a fair incentive to keep your highly trained deputies, they're going to leave elsewhere because the profession of law enforcement is struggling to get qualified human beings to fill the uniform. And the only way you do that is provide a fair contract and make sure that all resources are given to uplifting the sheriff's office by creating more of an environment to entice people to come, lateral or new hires. But this public safety tax, which recently just passed, does nothing to retain our highly trained deputies. Now other deputies are leaving and we can enforce those noise ordinances. We have to just rely on the basic job of providing life safety. It's unacceptable to have a 45-minute response time on average for a deputy when you call 911. It's got to change.
Thank you. Brenda Lykins.
Yeah, so these issues may seem minor for sure compared to major public safety issues, but they do impact people's ability to enjoy their homes and neighborhoods. We dealt with this a lot in the city of Gig Harbor, but I think that law enforcement and code enforcement My hope would be to expand the sheriff's department to have efficient code enforcement, be able to go out. And really, they make it more about working with the person to stop them from continuing to offend in more of a community policing model. Working with community members, groups, community policing. I know I went to the Key Pen Council meeting, and they talked about they're working on community engagement and developing those relationships between neighbors, even if they're on 2 5-acre plots. Get them to exchange phone numbers, get them to know each other, be accountable. I think that you balance enforcement with a responsible use of county resources. Working on, like I said, repeat offenders, funding code enforcement wisely, and trying to do a preventative model with the goal to have people actually follow the rules without jeopardizing the sheriff's deputies that really need to be working on the serious issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mike Solan. And this is our last question, 90 seconds. So what is your opinion about the Pierce County Sheriff refusing to selectively choose which state laws to follow? Mike Solan.
I'm more concerned about the appointment of the sheriff language that's going to be on November ballots. To me, I find it very difficult to understand why they're removing the ability for people to elect who they want to represent them as sheriff. The sheriff is the checks and balances to the executive. That's how the system works. I've seen firsthand how appointing a sheriff within King County has not been met with data to show that was a good move. I don't mind, and I don't really understand why the energy behind not following the current procedure of recalling somebody as a sheriff's office, following that path, which is part of the process of our elected government. You can recall them where you need to have an appointed sheriff. To me, regardless of what you think of Sheriff Swank, that's your intention. What really bothers me is people willing to remove our ability to vote who we want for elected office. That's what I find stunning. I don't pay attention to the opinion of the sheriff. That's not my business. My business is protecting your right to vote for who you want, not have somebody appointed, which removes your right to vote.
Thank you. Brenda Lykins, please.
Yes, thank you for the question. So the sheriff takes an oath of office to both uphold the U.S. Constitution and the laws of the state of Washington. And there are situations where this sheriff, agree with him or don't disagree with him, has raised some concerns around whether or not going to be following certain laws. Those have been worked out within working with his attorneys and through the legal process. And I believe that seeking clarification through the courts is the right way to do things. Because public trust depends on consistency. We need to know that laws are being applied fairly and that our elected officials are acting within their legal authority. If a state law is challenged and a court rules on it, the decision should guide how it is enforced. As a county council person, my role would be to support the rule of law. To respect that separation of powers. And if the sheriff is elected, and it is going to the voters or appointed, if they decide that they want to continue to have an elected official, then you respect those different positions and separation of powers. Disagreements over policy are inevitable, but they should be resolved through the legal process rather than creating uncertainty for the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck Quest, 90 seconds.
Yeah, we're at a time where there's a lot of people who definitely have strong opinions and who share them in political offices. The sheriff is obviously one of them, but he's elected. If, if there's an issue with it, we call him. They do not support making an appointed position. I also look at overall, we're a sanctuary state. We're a sanctuary city. So obviously there are other politicians who are violating federal law by being the sanctuaries. So I guess we're picking and choosing sometimes which laws to abide by.
30 seconds.
And as Mike was saying, with the deputies, they don't always have time to respond or even to follow through on a lot of the violations that are out there. And it all falls the same way. They're maybe picking and choosing the higher priority falls to how these people respond to. And that's unjust.
Thank you. Now it's time for closing statements. Each candidate has up to 1 minute for their closing statement. We'll start with Brenda Lykins. 1 minute. Of course, I did that when I saw you have a glass.
Thank you. So I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. You know, I believe leadership is about bringing people together, respecting our different perspectives, and delivering results for the people of Pierce County, particularly District 7. I care deeply about this community, and I will ensure that the voice of rural areas is heard and that every community in District 7 is represented. I'm honored to earn the support of more than 45 local leaders and organizations across District 7, including U.S. Congresswoman Randall, County Executive Mello, the mayors of both Tacoma and Gig Harbor, many council members, many labor partners, including the Pierce County Central Labor Council and Teamsters 117 representing the Gig Harbor Police Department. Pierce County is where I grew up, raised my family, and I believe that good days can be ahead. I would be honored to earn your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chuck West, your 1 minute closing statement.
Sorry for the beginning problems there with my Zoom one. I'm a 34-year firefighter, retired, run a small construction business, but I grew up out here, mainly in Big Harbor, but a little bit in Tacoma when I was a kid. So I know the community quite well. I volunteer. I'm a member of the Peninsula Community Council. I sat on the land use advisory. I served on the prosecutors
30 seconds.
advisory council. I helped form a free clinic for the Peninsula. I currently sit as chairman of the board. I serve on the school district. I'm been involved in this community, and not because somebody's paid me to do it, but because I love this community, and I'll continue to do what I can to help this community and make it a great place for families, for affordability, for everything.
Thank you. Thank you all. The candidates for Pierce County Council District 7 are Mike Solan, Chuck West, Brenda Lykins.
Did you forget?
Hi, Lydia.
Solan?
Do
Oh,
you
I'm
mind
sorry.
if I
I'm
do?
sorry.
No, it's okay. No
Forgive
problem.
me. Forgive me. My
No
mistake.
problem.
Mike Solan,
Well, no,
please.
thank you.
1 minute.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. Well, I'm proud to be here. I'm humbled to be here, and I'm glad to be here. Um, Also proud to have the endorsement of the Pierce County Sheriff's Guild, which is the rank and file membership authority when it comes to public safety matters within the county. I'm also proud to have the endorsement of former Attorney General Rob McKenna and moderates, and I have a pedigree of negotiating contracts, adhering to budgets and respecting the taxpayer, and working with progressive and moderate mayors and police chiefs in my tenure. I'm witnessing and living under Pierce County tax us and have a fiscal cliff that I think is a serious issue for us moving forward that impacts our quality of life. We're one seat away from having a county council back to rational, where we have fiscal integrity, we respect you, the taxpayer, and we have a public safety adherence to protecting you and your lives. And I humbly ask you for your vote if you agree on me with one priority, and I hope you can have your vote. And I look forward to representing you at the county level.
Thank you. Thank you all. And the candidates for Pierce County Council District 7 are Chuck West, Brenda Lykins, Mike Solan, and Ann E. Jolie. I'd like to thank the candidates, the timekeeper, Terry Baker, and Tacoma-Pierce County League of Women Voters. You can see other League of Women Voter candidate forums at lwvtpc.org. Read your voters pamphlet and read the candidate websites. And don't forget to vote on August 4th. Thank you, everyone, and good night.